see myself in the cleft of the Lord, in your presence, your presence.
Today again, I want to thank you. This is the program Standing on the Rock, and of course, there is no other better place for us to stand on but to stand on Jesus. If you stand on man, man will fail you, and of course, we don't want to do that. So we want to make sure that Jesus is our ultimate friend and companion. He's everything that we have. There is nothing else that we can really demonstrate the love of God except being in Him. And sometimes, you know, the world does have to teach us something, although it ought not to be like that. But most time you can learn from the ungodly man, because they would have been through trial and error. For the Christian, we're not supposed to be through trial and error, but because of their experience, they could bring a lot of things to you. And I want to share this, because why I want to say this is because most of the time we have people in our life, God allow people to come in our life that can be able to motivate us and stimulate us and give us encouragement to go forward. My desire is to be a soul winner, continue to be a soul winner for Jesus Christ. Meaning that my desire is to be on the street 24/7. Yes, I have the church. I believe in miracles and healing and deliverance and etc. But I also believe in he that winneth soul is wise. So thematically, I went to Trinidad to get some stuff for a truck that we have just did some mass renovation and ready for the road. And when I get there, I went to a particular place in Shogunas to get some equipment for the truck and for on the road. And I went to a guy who is a Muslim guy. He said he's a Muslim guy, and I really appreciate that, because religion is what creates difference in the world. And that guy asked me a question, and I wasn't able to answer him the way that I know. Normally I'm sharp with answers, but on that particular day, I was kind of laid back, waiting for the right appropriate answer, hoping that he will give me a clue as to why he asked the question. He said, "What is riches? What do you consider as riches?" And of course, we will think about money is riches. When you have 100,000 or 300,000 or 500,000 or 600,000 or $1 million or $1 billion, trillion, we may say that is riches. But for a guy who is well off and who have a lot of things and have worth, he said money is not riches. He said money is like exchanging what you have. He said if you have food, you can exchange it. That's what money is, and call it bartering. And we understand that. He said the richest thing in God-given earth is families. The family really entail riches. Father, mother, daughters, son. But having a relationship with your family, having a godly relationship with your family, being there for them, encouraging, motivating, he said that is what riches is about. He said, but because what money will do, money in a split second, you can have money in your hand and money makes no sense, because if a fire, if your house catch a fire and you have $1 million in the house, what will happen? The piece of paper or the papers, all of those money that is in the line of paper, it will go up in smoke and has no use. And I take that advice. So I recognize, well then, even we as ministers, we have to be very careful what we are teaching our people. Of course, we hear a lot of people talk about blessings, and they often narrow blessings down only to finance, only to money. And I'm saying, no, money is not only blessing. Money is not only the thing that God can bless you with. And they often use this particular area, you know, and Solomon said that money answered all things. In Solomon's day, there was nothing like paper. There was silver and gold and probably some stones. There was nothing else. But you know, it's important for us to understand very clearly that riches does not stem from money. You may have monetary worth, you may have a lot of money, but that does not mean that you are rich. Because you got a lot of people who in the world who have money, they are multi-billionaires and they are not rich, they are still poor. Because some of them have no love. Some of them have no peace. Some of them, they may have a few assets, well, but they are still poor according to the Bible. Because they don't have God. If you have money and you don't have God, you are still poor. And most of the time we need to separate money from a balanced life. A balanced life is not always mean that when you have money that your life is balanced. There are a lot of people who have money and their life still not balanced. You have a lot of people who have money, their homes are broken, husband hate wife, wife hate husband, children don't want to have nothing to do with mother or daddy because of the fact that they are having conflict in the home. So what I'm saying today, I really want to endorse, and I want to endorse the fact that families become the most important thing in this God-given earth. In a matter of fact, human beings are more important than anything else in this world. It hurts my heart to see how people treat the animals and how they treat us as human beings. And they will make statements and say, the animals are much better than human beings because they behave better and they behave different. The moment we are challenged with some sort of information that are able to elevate us to another level, we are not able to deal with it. So what we do, we try to make the person believe, well, then here what's happening. What you are doing does not make sense. I often understand by my parents, my mother said, there is nothing that a person could ask you, a question they may ask you seems to be foolish. Every question that somebody asks you, it is very important for us in this day and time. Of course, that is not my message. My message really had to deal with Joseph and Potiphar and with the whole family of Joseph, brothers and them. The Bible says that Jacob had approximately 12 children. Out of the 12 children, Jacob had Joseph and Benjamin. They were the last of his children, because what happened? He made those two children with Rachel. Rachel was the love of his life. And you understand, you know the story, that it was Leah and Rachel. And when Jacob bid with his father-in-law for 7 years to serve, it wasn't for Leah, but it was for Rachel. And what happened? The father said, I can't give you the younger, I have to give you the eldest first. So when Jacob would have had his fun time and take the virgin, deal with the virgin of his wife, when he get up in the morning, he did not recognize, he really did recognize it was not Rachel, but it was Leah. And that created a big problem. The long and short of it is that Jacob was given another 7 years to work to get Rachel. And he did that, and he had Rachel. And Leah would have had 5 or 6 children. She recognized that Joseph loved Rachel still. She fight with her maid, gave her maid or servant to Jacob, and to make sure that she win his heart. But Jacob stuck on Rachel. And the Bible said because of that, and Joseph was Rachel's first child, Jacob loved Joseph. He did things that frustrate the other brothers. As a father, outright, he showed who he preferred. He showed that he loved Joseph more than the rest of the brothers. And of course, we know in this day and time, if you have a family and you're showing who you love more, it's going to create some sort of disruption among the family. And the Bible said his other brothers, beside Benjamin, the other 9 or the other 10 brothers, they hate Joseph. They really hate him. And to actually crowd it off, the father go and make a special garment. A garment that actually marks royalty. And that garment that marks royalty, he placed that garment of many colors, many colors, take different things and place it on him that represent different colors of different pieces of cloth, and that would have actually represent kingship. So what Jacob did, make Joseph a king over them. And then Joseph began to frustrate his brother by telling them, I dream a dream. And the dream he dreamed, he said, I dreamt that the moon and the stars, the moon and the sun and the 11 stars bow down before me. And the father asked, what are all these? He said, you mean that myself and your mother is going to bow down before you and your 11 brothers? It was just a dream. But you know what I like about it? When God is about to do something, the first thing that God does is to release to us dreams or vision, what he wants us to do in the future. What God was doing is showing or giving Joseph a clue of what would have happened somewhere down in the future. But Joseph was not wise enough to understand what God was doing. So what happened, God would have allowed his brothers to hate him. And one day the Bible says they were going on a long journey because where they accustomed to tying the animals, there was no more food, there was no more grass. And what happened, that Joseph now has to follow his brothers. So they travel to a long, maybe a 4, 5, 6 miles to graze the animals. And one day the father said to Joseph, you need to go visit your brothers. You need to carry all that you have for them today to eat because they have been away for too long. And the Bible said Joseph traveled maybe a few days, maybe 2, 3 days to get to the place. He asked a question to a young man or to an old elderly man that he met, and he said, I saw them overside yonder, going to this so and so. And he said, okay, follow them. But you know what was amazing to that story is the Bible says, from the time the 10 brothers saw Joseph coming to them, they say, here is the dreamer. And they all begin to talk about what they can do to make his life miserable. One said, let's kill him. Another said, no, let's not kill him, he's our brothers. One said, let's put him in the pit. And because of that, they all at that particular time begin to stam up, they begin to orchestrate, and they begin to plan how they must destroy Joseph. Not recognizing it was God who has chosen Joseph, put in an excellent spirit in him, a spirit that will be able now to suffice and to bring in this particular time and season a place in which he can sustain them. But they did not see that. All they see him as being hated by them. They was not seeing anything else. All they were seeing is just a young man. They was not seeing what the future have to offer them. And of course, they all agreed to put him in the pit. And one of the brothers, I think it was Judah, he walked away, or Simeon. And by the time he came back, he recognized that Joseph is not in the pit. By that time, they already sell Joseph. And notice what they sold Joseph for, 20 pieces of silver. So by the time Judah was back, Joseph, along with the Ishmaelites, was on their way to Egypt. And Simeon or Judah now start having problem because what are we going to tell our father? They all agree, kill a lamb, blood up the garment, and let's all agree to tell our father, a wild beast have taken Joseph, eat him alive, and this is all that remains. Could you imagine? They sold their brother. They sold their brother. He's on his way to Egypt. God's plan is that he is going to sustain them in the future. But they don't know that. And the Bible said he went down into Egypt. While the brothers are having a good time, he is in Egypt under slavery. Amen? And they sold him to Potiphar. And the Bible said God was with Joseph. Everything that Joseph placed his hands to do in Potiphar's house, God's prosper him. The only thing that Potiphar did not withhold from Joseph, it was his wife. Every other thing, he placed that into his hands. Everything in the house, Joseph had control of it. But his wife was a different category. That is his wife, so she equal with the husband. And the Bible said Joseph did well. For how many years? He take on the personality, he take on the character of the Egyptian. They changed up the whole look of Joseph because he was only 17 years of age when he went down into Egypt. He was a lad, he was young. And the Bible said after a time, as the boy began to get handsome and look more clean and look so handsome and look so body structure, everything looked well. Potiphar's wife, which is a circumcised Philistine, she saw Joseph and recognized that he has more to offer to Potiphar than anything else. What she wanted is a taste of the young man's heart. She wants Joseph. She didn't just want his face, she wants sex. An old woman who's supposed to be able to encourage a young man. At some point in time, you will have a wife that you will encourage, that you will have children and continue to live as a man. That old woman wanted a young heart to have sex with. And that's what the devil does. Some of our old women who are supposed to show respect to our younger men, they are pushing for anything else more than anything else. What they want is to suck the blood of the young man. So what she wanted, that she must look young, so she wanted to take all that she can get from Joseph. But thank God that Joseph was not stupid. He was not foolish. He was a virgin, but he loved God. And I want to thank God for young men who would have stood the test and stayed together as a virgin until they're married. I like that. You hear me? Too many young men want to try something and get themselves in trouble. I remember some years ago, I met a very young man who I grew up in Lekito with. He was much younger than me. We grew up in the same village. He was much younger than me. And I saw him in the hospital and could not recognize him. And I asked the question, what was wrong with him? He was HIV positive. He was not a Douglas, but when you watch him, what the virus did with him, the virus allowed him to look like though he's a Douglas. And I could not have make him out. And the story behind that, he left Lekito and go into Scarborough, fall in love with an older woman than himself, and the woman had AIDS and she destroyed him. He died long time ago. Joseph was very brilliant and wise. So when Potiphar's wife approached Joseph, she recognized no one was in the home, and she approached him. Joseph ran for his life. And she couldn't deal with that because he left his outer garment off, and he ran for his life. And she left that garment and said, you know what's going to happen? I am going to use this against him. I was said, I alone was in the house, and Joseph come after me to rape me. And when I screamed, he ran and leave his garment. And the Bible from that time, trouble store up for Joseph. Joseph now become a victim of something that he had not done. He didn't commit no fornication. And I'm saying that if for some reason those doctors in that day and time, and Potiphar was smart, he should have really taken Joseph to one of those doctors and checked him and said, this young man is not sexually active, but he's a virgin. But Potiphar believed his wife more than Joseph because it's his wife. And the Bible said, after they examined Joseph, they placed him in the king's prison bars. Could you imagine that you were innocent? You did nothing. You were stolen from your family. They sold you for 20 pieces of silver. Now you are in another land. You have not done anything. You are a slave. And the last thing that you wanted is to end up in prison. But God allowed him to end up in prison so that he can bring him out of the prison bars and make him the governor. Isn't God wise? Isn't God wonderful? You see, God had to take him down there, and God had to allow him to go through everything that he needs to go through to prove to him that I am the Almighty God. And no matter what Pharaoh and his team do, no matter what Potiphar do, they can't hold you hostage. When your time would have come, I will release you. I like that. So God began to use him in dreams and vision. Meaning that there were people Pharaoh had two of his main men, the buckler and the baker, and they actually did something against Pharaoh, and he put them in the prison, and they both have a dream one night, and Joseph was able to interpret the dreams. And by that, Joseph said, when you come out, remember me. And for some reason, nobody seems to understand or remember that. So here is Joseph in prison. But the Bible said, even though he's in prison, the prisoner or the prisoner officer who is in charge of the prison place him over the prisoners. Isn't that wonderful? Everything that you do, God allows you to flourish and to be able to get the best out of life. And the Bible said Joseph was there for a little bit. But hear how powerful God is. God knew somewhere along the line he would have allowed a famine to take the world at that time. So God allowed a famine to take the world of that time, but the famine would have come 7 years later. And Pharaoh dreamed a dream. And having that dream, he called all the wise men, all the Obia men, all the astrologers, he called all of them, and none of them could give Pharaoh clarity to his dream. Not one of them could have shared with Pharaoh what he had dreamt. And that is where the problem was. And Pharaoh said, what good are you, magician, that I have a dream, or there is a dream, and nobody, not one soul can give me interpretation? And I remember the buckler said to Pharaoh, I now know my mistake. He said, I was in prison, and you placed us into prison, and there was one inside who have the ability to unfold dreams. Pharaoh said at once, go get him, clean him up, bring him out. They did exactly that. By the time they bring out Joseph, and Pharaoh shared his dream with Joseph, Joseph said the dream is simple. He said the tin or the fat cow that you see, and the tin one eat it up, and you couldn't see where all of it gone, or the tin ears of corn, and you couldn't see what happened because the fat one eat them, or the tin one eat the fat one. He said this is showing you that there will be a famine for 7 years. He said the first part of it will be a famine of plenty. The first 7 years will be plenty, and the latter part of it will be, that famine will be so terrible. And Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dream. And you know what happened? Pharaoh need to find somebody in the kingdom who will have such a knowledge to stir up all the food. Stir up all the food for those 7 years of famine. And when he had a check among his people, he recognized there was no one as wise as Joseph. You know what I love about God? When God show up, God show off. Are you hearing me? When God show up, he show off. And God had to do that to make them understand the importance of serving him. Joseph was truly a worshiper of God. Joseph could not have done anything without God. So Joseph knew that he had to depend upon God for all that he needs. And the Bible said, when Pharaoh checked carefully, he recognized there was no one. And the Bible said, Pharaoh said, if you are the one who interpreted the dream, then you are the one who must be placed in position to lead this great army and these great people of Pharaoh. Pharaoh said, the only way I lead is on the throne. But when I'm off the throne, we are equal together. He take off his ring and place it on Joseph's hand. Even Potiphar, who was Pharaoh's right-hand man, had to bow before Joseph. Oh, God, help us now. I like that. I really want to thank God that Potiphar didn't treat him bad, so Joseph might have taken revenge. But you know something? He would not have taken revenge because, remember, Joseph is a child of God. He knew how to love. He understood how to show compassion and how to appreciate people in spite. And he understands the scripture, the Bible says, if your enemy hungry, feed him. So he understands that. And the long and short of it, Joseph became the governor of Egypt. He was placed there by God to save his brothers who sold him into Egypt. Are you hearing me? And the thing about his brothers did not recognize him when they first entered Egypt. I have to continue this message some other time, maybe the next time I'm here, to develop that particular area, to see what comes out of Joseph's brother and himself. But the long and short of it, he didn't have to go through all of this. But God allowed him to go through. There are some things in life God allows us to go through to give him glory. We may not see the start of it. We may not understand the start of it. We may not understand what is happening. But God allowed these things to happen so he can get the glory. Today I want to say to you, you may be in prison. You may be under pressure. You may be doing something that are contrary to the things of God, and God is saying, I'm allowing this to happen so I can get the glory. Why don't you give him a chance today? You may be a Joseph. You may be saying, why am I going through this? But God is saying, you have to pass your test. All of us have to go through our test and pass our test so God can get the glory. Isn't that so? So I want to say to you today, whatever you're going through, your life may be the same like Joseph, but be assured God is going to bring you out as governor. Amen? Today I want to thank God again for you listening to this program. I may not be as jumpy, but I just wanted you to get the point today. Prison, physical prison, spiritual prison, mental prison is not an easy place. There is always the thoughts of doing something to come out. You can't come out of spiritual prison except Jesus himself bring you out of it, because he said he came to set the captives free. Amen. This is Bishop Basil Edwards, the Church on the Rock, coming from the Church on the Rock, and I'm here today to share with you that whatever God says about you, it will come to pass. Don't give up. Stay focused. Of course, our service starts on a Sunday 10:30 in the morning. On a Tuesday, you have Bible study and prayer meeting. And on a Friday, which is really, really excited, Deliverance Night. And I'm telling you, we are having some real fantastic time in the presence of the Lord. I want you to be there. You can come. It's open to everyone. Come and join with us, whatever your situation is, and God's going to make a way for you. My numbers are 791-8521 or 314-9899. Why don't you come and be a part with what God is doing? I want to say the peace of God be upon you. Shalom. Amen.
I see myself in the clouds.